honestly, for 2 days, no one knew what she was saying. And then by day 3, she came in with this t-shirt that was black and it just had white letters on it. It said, "No risk, no fun." And she goes, "No risk, no fun." And she laughs and we're like, that's what you're trying to say. Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to the Confident Dancer YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share with you the best tips and pieces of advice that I remember receiving as a young aspiring professional dancer, just to pass on the love, you know? And to be honest, there was probably a lot more really good advice that I got all those years ago, but these are the ones that I remember. So I hope that you really enjoy these and benefit from them as I have. Let me know in the comments which one resonates with you the most. I'd love to know. And if you're new here, welcome. If you don't know me, my name is Kirsten. I am a mindset coach for dancers, meaning that I specialize in helping dancers with the mental side of optimum performance. So that really looks like helping dancers overcome things like performance anxiety, self-doubt, helping them build confidence, and really building their mental health, which also will, of course, help you to perform at your personal best. So if that's something that you're interested in gaining support on, definitely continue to watch these videos, but also check out my website down below where you can learn more about my services and how we can work together. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the tips. The first one, I remember I was at my first summer intensive. I was 14 years old. I was at the ABT summer program in Alabama. And I remember one of the teachers who used to be a dancer with ABT, he said, "What is good dancing?" Or what is dancing? Like, he posed this question to a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds, like some 12-year-olds, and we're kind of like, Actually, this piece of advice came from one of the young dancers who shared a piece of advice that she remembers getting from one of her teachers. Her answer to this question was that good dancing is the enjoyment of good music. And what I took from that is that dancing is really this overflow of what the music you're listening to makes you feel. And so it's been such a good tip for me that has really influenced my philosophy around dancing, to where I really focus on enjoying the music and actually seeking to hear it and appreciate it so well that I actually become a visual representation of the depth and the beauty and the range of any piece of music that I'm dancing to, so that I can actually allow the audience who's watching me to not only appreciate dance, but also appreciate music more deeply. Because honestly, if we're kind of thinking of, like, was it the chicken or the egg? Which one came first? Was it dance or was it music? I'm willing to bet music was a predecessor of dance, and dance is a response to good music. So I thought that that was a really good piece of advice that has shifted my philosophy around dancing from a young age. And it's not only helped me to be a lot more artistic and expressive, but it's also helped me to enjoy dancing more. Because if you just focus on being the best, technical excellence, like the competitive, technical, almost quantifiable aspects of this art, you're kind of getting away from the art part of it, which when you're tapped into the artistry, that's when you're actually able to be unique. Technique isn't that unique. So the second one, I received this one when I was training at the Houston Ballet Academy year-round, and there was a residency we had where some dancers and teachers from Simferopera Ballet in Dresden, they came, and also some of the teachers from their school over there came to teach us dancers in Houston. And it was such an amazing exchange, and I remember seeing for about 3 days in a row, I think, improvisation was on our schedule, and I was like, no! Like, at the time, that was just like the worst thing you could have done to me, because I was all about like structure and doing things right. And improvisational dance has an entirely different mindset and intention around it, where you naturally have to make this huge switch for a classically trained ballet dancer from, how do I do this right? What is the choreography that someone else gave me, and how do I do it the way they want it? To basically having the exact opposite mentality of like, what feels good? What is my connection to the music? What is interesting to me? What do I want to do? What do I want to create? Wild switch. But this teacher, who had a very thick German accent, I honestly could not understand probably half of what she was saying. Thank God she was nice and she wouldn't get really mad at us whenever we didn't know what she was talking about, because she kept saying this phrase, no risk, no fun. And she kept saying that, but honestly, for 2 days, no one knew what she was saying. And then by day 3, she came in with this t-shirt that was black and it just had white letters on it. It said, "No risk, no fun." And she goes, "No risk, no fun." And she laughs and we're like, that's what you're trying to say. Oh my gosh. And honestly, the day that I understood that piece of advice, I actually did really see a shift in myself around how I was dancing in that improv class. And I thought that was such an amazing mentality to carry into life in general, but especially in my more classical ballet technique approach, which is that, I started to ask myself, how could I actually have more fun by taking risks and not see risk as such a bad thing where I'm fixating on the idea of like, what if it looks dumb? What if I mess up? What if it doesn't work? To actually seeing it as the point and like seeking it as some sort of thrill or something that just makes the practice more interesting, and it also allows you to create unique movements. So I just thought that was such a profound and fun intention. That was a total shift from how I used to see things. And it really honestly helped the way that I danced in classical ballet, because I started to notice that every balance, every turn, every transfer of weight or opportunity to travel was an opportunity to take a fun risk. So I really recommend you adopt that one for yourself and see how it works for you. The third piece of advice I got when I was training at the Houston Ballet Academy year-round, and this is a big takeaway that I'm kind of surmising from this attitude and mindset that one of my main teachers taught me there, which was really significant. It was basically that if you want other people to trust you with opportunities, you actually have to learn to trust yourself. And if you want opportunities as well, the second part of this was she was huge on personal responsibility, which, not to go into it, but it really went to a very unhealthy extreme in my opinion, personally and professionally. But I really do value that main takeaway as well of like, if you want something, you have to take responsibility for that outcome. You can't just wait for someone to like see your potential in the back of the room and be like, "Oh, wow, my muse," and like pull you to the front. Maybe some people have that story, but it's very rare. So her attitude that she taught us was basically, if you want a certain opportunity, are you already dancing like the kind of dancer who would get that opportunity? Are you putting in the work that is already like at the next level you want to be? Or are you kind of having that attitude of like, once I get there, then I'll feel like working, or then I'll rise into the part? She was like, no, if you want this next opportunity, you have to trust yourself to go get it, because that's how you're going to put yourself out there. And then also you have to take responsibility for that outcome and do what you can to create it proactively, like be the driver and the force behind the results you want to see. And that's not a new concept to a lot of you, I know, but it was just so heavily ingrained that it just overall was something that positively affected me in my life. And to be honest, I also saw other friends that I saw become very successful in the ballet world embodying this. One of my good friends, Lori, hi Lori, if you're watching this, we danced together in Oklahoma City Ballet. I would see her taking her extra time at the studio to practice, really practice the variation that she was understudying and actually get really good at it. And you could see when she was practicing in the back that she actually put in the work to be good at the variation. And then what happened is she actually had to step in for that role, and that's how she got her apprenticeship contract. That really taught me that even though, yes, I think as a default, dancers work hard, but there's this other level of working at the level you want to be next already and dancing as if you're already there. I think that's really, really profound. So hope that one helps you. Hey dancers, I hope you're really enjoying this video so far. I want to briefly share something with those of you who have been experiencing things like low self-esteem, performance anxiety, self-doubt, putting a lot of pressure on yourself, comparison, caring a lot about what other people think, relying on external validation. I could go on and on and on about a lot of these common mental struggles that a lot of us dancers face, especially if you're dancing and training and performing at a high level. If that's something you've been experiencing and you really long to have the mental skills and support to be able to overcome performance anxiety, know how to perform well under pressure, overcome self-doubt, and actually start to trust and believe in yourself for real and build real confidence so you can enjoy dancing again and perform to your highest potential, if that's something that you want, that's exactly what the Confident Dancer Coaching Program is designed to help you do. This is my individual mindset coaching program that I've designed to help dancers build a healthy mindset that actually helps them to feel and perform their best consistently. If this is something you're interested in seeing, if it's a good fit for you, just click the link below to visit theconfidentdancer.com, learn all about what the program includes, how it works, read incredible testimonials from past clients that I've worked with, and schedule a free 30-minute consultation where you and I can connect, discuss your goals and challenges, and see honestly if working together would be a great fit for you personally. That's the best next step, and since it's no strings attached and totally risk-free to you, might as well give yourself the gift of pursuing this and seeing if it could really be that thing to take you to the next level in your dancing. So if that's something you resonate with or interested in, again, head to theconfidentdancer.com, and I look forward to connecting with you there. All right, let's head into the rest of the video. The fourth piece of advice was that everyone will have their turn. Now, of course, this is kind of a generalization, and it's somewhat of a wishful idea, but I do think there is a lot of validity to it. It's so easy to get really, really caught up in what someone else has that you don't have, and to be like, I wish I had that. Like, oh my gosh, you guys. I make fun of this and I laugh now, but like one of the most dramatic times was when I was like 13, 14 or something, 14. And I wanted to be Clara in the Nutcracker at my local studio so badly, like with every fiber of my being. I just wanted to be Clara. Bad news though, I was over 5'6", and so I was a little tall for that. Yeah, I was so overwhelmed at that time with like jealousy and like other people have this and I don't. And I remember, I think this piece of advice actually came from my mom. God bless Kimberly Kemp, I love you. So she was like, everyone will have their turn. You're gonna have your turn. And you know what? It is true. And no, it's not always true for everyone in the sense of like, you will have your success in the dance world and it will just happen to you. We can't just expect things like that to passively happen to us, but it did leave me with this valuable takeaway that everyone does have their moment to shine in life. And if you're not seeing yours now, it's coming. And also the more that you dive into what you want to do and what you're good at and continue to work at that, and you continue to just be authentic to who you are and what you want to do, and also you put yourself out there enough, your opportunity and your moment to shine will come. So I think that piece of advice was just so helpful to kind of bring me into a bigger picture perspective in that moment and not be in such a lack mentality. Like, you have something that I don't, how unfair, what a bummer. Like, it's okay to be disappointed, but it's also important to move through that as quickly as you can, like once it's time, just to also be grateful for what you do have and have faith in the good things to come. Piece of advice number 5. This is really for my younger dancers who are watching, okay? So a lot of times when I get to interact with dancers who are in their young to mid teenage years, it's natural that I often witness, and this was me too, that at that age, we tend to be really, really focused on very external things, like who has the best feet for ballet in the class, like who has the best lines, oh, she has the extensions, oh, she has the body, whatever. And it's so easy to like just get so obsessed with that. I remember my mom, when I was around that age, like I had this really good friend who had like the most ridiculous feet for ballet, like crazy. And again, like my little 13, 14-year-old self was like, how unfair. I wish I was born with that. And we would just talk about like feet and lines all the time. We would go to like auditions and me and the girls at the studio would be like, oh, did you see her extensions? Oh, did you see her feet? And my mom, I think a lot of these are coming from my mom now that I think about it. That woman has perspective, okay? Anyway, she said, it's not all about the feet. And my mom would share with me, like, when I watch you dancers on stage, if I were to watch the feet for too long, I would get so bored. It's really about like what's going on here and like how are you presenting ourselves? Are we getting to know you through your dancing? Because y'all, as I've gotten older, I've known so many dancers who have the feet, the technique, the extensions. But if you don't have like personality and life behind your eyes and like an actual artistic like interpretation behind what you're doing and a really like an authentic feeling that you're expressing. Ballets, especially classical ballets, they're so long. They're like 2 hours plus long sometimes. Feet and technique and the extensions do not keep you entertained for 2 hours. hours. It's storytelling that does. So that was such a good piece of advice. Like, it's not all about the feet. It's about the total package, and especially what's going on up here. So the more you take your focus off of some of those external things that some people are just born with and some aren't, the more you can really start to tap into your own creativity and the part of you that actually will make you a special dancer. Tip number 6. This piece of advice is technical, and I think it was one of the best pieces of technical advice that I ever got. It was from John Magnus. I feel like my generation of dancers in the US, especially if you went to like Regional Dance America, comment below if you went to RDA. Oh my gosh, those were the days, those were the times. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you could look it up, but they're like conventions for ballet studios. And John Magnus was just a teacher I would get a lot. I grew up in Texas, and so he would teach as like a master instructor oftentimes at all sorts of studios I would just happen to be at. He was honestly such a good teacher, and he would talk about artistry and mindset and things like that, but he had such a way of explaining how to improve your technique that really clicked with me. And the phrase that he used that I want to share with you is stack your bones. Imagine all of us have a skeleton inside of us, which I don't like that thought, but it's true. So anyway, he said, all of us have a skeleton inside of us. And if you stack your bones properly, your muscles don't have to work as hard to hold you and to accomplish these movements. So the more you stay in balance, like your head, shoulders, hips, middle of the arch, the more that stays aligned and you really stack your bones and balance your weight properly, and also practice counterbalancing every movement. Like if you're in an arabesque, the chest needs to go a little forward to counterbalance the leg going high, of course. So he talked about that and just stacking yourself properly so that the muscles work efficiently and you can have the maximum result with very little to no tension, but nice support in your muscles. And that mentality is something that I was able to carry and kind of figure out a lot of ways to overcome technical challenges myself that I was facing. Because I would think like, okay, where am I holding tension? Am I counterbalancing every movement, every position properly to where I have maximum ease and efficiency? That was such a breakthrough in my technique when I heard that and started to implement it. So I hope it helps you too. This last piece of advice, I got this from watching Restless Creature, a film by Wendy Whalen, or starring her. It came out in 2016. I would highly recommend watching that. It was a very emotional film for me to watch because at the time I was recovering from knee surgery and she was going through her hip surgery experience, and it was just... there were tears and also like a lot of profound breakthroughs for me mentally in watching her experience. She really goes into her internal like mental process going through that experience and really reflecting on the end of her career and some very difficult things that happened. So would totally recommend that movie if you haven't watched it, or documentary. So the piece of advice I took from it was, and again, big paraphrase here, but she said, ballet will never be able to give back to you what you give to it. And I just thought at the time, the first time I heard that, I actually read it and I thought, how pessimistic. I don't want that to be true. Like, I didn't want to believe that that was true. But I'm so thankful I heard that, because I don't actually think that needs to be such a pessimistic idea. I think it's actually true, and it's good to remember that ballet is something that we can make it as if it's like a god to us. We can put it on this pedestal. We can make it our everything, and we can desire for it to give us our sense of purpose and worth and identity. But ballet just wasn't designed for that. Remember, it's an art. It's something that we as humans with a soul pour ourselves into. It doesn't have a soul. It's not a person. It's not a deity, and it can't actually give back to us what we put into it. So I think my takeaway from that piece of advice was just to remember to come into ballet with my own sense of worth and to be mindful of what I choose to give ballet, and remember that I choose to give myself, or part of myself, or part of my life to this art form. And by remembering that I choose that, it helps me to also weigh appropriately, like weigh out, am I giving more to it than it can give back to me? Am I putting so many of my eggs in this basket that one really, really difficult experience like an injury could ruin me? It could devastate me. It could make me feel like I'm worthless. that's a big sign. And I went through that, by the way, so no judgment. Like, it was a big part of my development and how I got to where I am now. So no regrets. But I needed to learn that the hard way. And I'm so glad that I heard that piece of advice around that time, because it's now something that rings very true for me. And I actually believe that it provides well-being, hope, and encouragement, because it kind of puts the power back in my hands to say, how much do I want to give it? How much am I giving myself to ballet, and am I receiving what I'm putting into it? And am I happy with that balance right now? Okay, dancers, thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also, again, comment down below which piece of advice really resonated with you the most, or if you have a piece of advice that you have really benefited from, I would love to hear it. Definitely type it in the comments. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss next week's video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.